Welcome to the next tutorial video for Taco Truck. Uh, so what we're going to do is we're going to replicate one of these layouts on Slagcoin. I already have most of these represented in one form or another, so I'm going to go for something a little bit different. Let's see. What about... Let's do this one. This one looks interesting. So I'm just going to keep this page open. I'm going to come over here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to new. That gives us a blank canvas here. So I'm going to assume that these buttons are probably 32 millimeter buttons because for the most part they tend to be, unless you're talking about leverless. The other way I can kind of tell that they're 32 millimeters is that the space from one center to another is 35, so I'm guessing that there's about 3 millimeters of space in between. So anyway, there are many ways you could do this. Like I said, you could try to do it manually. Taco Truck also has the ability that you can bring in artwork, and you could essentially bring in one of these layouts and then kind of drag the buttons where you want them to be, like just kind of lining them up with the picture. But that tends to not be very precise. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Add, and then we're talking about 24 millimeter buttons. The brand doesn't really matter here. It's just when I was making these, I was originally going to actually have pictures of like the different buttons and stuff, and I probably still will. But let's just say, you know, your regular Sanwa 24 millimeter button. So the first thing I generally do is I just lay them out roughly the way that I believe that they're going to be. Obviously, my recollection of it is not grand, so we're just going to throw these to the wind. And actually, I just realized I'm just said we're going to use 30 millimeters. So to get rid of buttons, you just highlight it and hit delete or backspace on your keyboard. Let's try that again. Sorry. So 30 millimeter buttons. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Obviously, doesn't look very much like what this looks like. So what you do is you pick one of these to act as your reference point. So I usually just start with the lower leftmost button. So I'm going to click on this guy here. So when you click on any of these buttons, it's going to bring up this menu here that we looked at last time, where you have all these quick alignments and stuff, and then all of the other positioning and rotation and stuff of the elements. So one of the cool things that you can do here is you can click on relative to, and then you select what you want to be relative to. So like I said, we're going to make everything kind of relative to this guy here, and then each of them just going to kind of chain off of that. Like this guy will be relative to this one will be relative to this one will be relative to this one, so on and so forth. But first, we're going to make this one relative to this guy. So when you first make it relative, it's going to calculate what its relative offset from that other button is. But basically, this X and this Y you see over here is its relative positioning to this. So for instance, if I set X to 0, you're going to see that it's going to jump in. It's going to line itself up perfectly horizontally with that. And then Y is just how far up and away it is from that one. So first of all, let's look over here and see what we have. So these two buttons are in fact aligned with each other on the X. So we're already halfway there. So if we look at this diagram, let's see how far this point is, how far between these 2 points are. So 9 plus 9 is 18. 18 plus 21 is 18 plus 21 is, that's I'm sorry, it's hard for me to math in my head. Is that 39? Yeah, because if it was 8, that'd be 29. Yeah. Sorry, you gotta listen to me like ramble on and try to figure out math. So it's like 39 millimeters apart. And that looks about right. All right, so we have the first one. So now we're going to set this one relative to this. So next thing we do, go over here and let's find out how, like basically what the relationship between these two is. So they're 18 apart on the y-axis, So if I change this to -18, that'll put it in the right Y position. And then for X, these are 31.25 apart. So I could just change this to 31.25. And there, now that is correctly spaced. Now I know it looks like that there's more space here than the other one. That's because I render a rim, because I want you to be able to see the size of the rim of the button, so that you don't accidentally place buttons so close to each other that their rims rest on top of each other. But in any case, so we have that. Let me just double check this real quick. So 18, yeah, 18 plus 21, 39. And then these are 18 apart, and then 31.25. Yep. Okay, cool. That is correct. So now the next one we'll do is this one. So we'll just set this one relative to this guy, because we already know that these are like even with each other on the X. So I'll just set the X to 0 so they line up that way. And then I will see how far apart they are from each other on the Y. So that's 18 and 18. Well, I'm sorry. It's 18 and 21 again. So they're the same distance apart as these. So that's 39 apart from each other. And I actually almost have that, which is pretty freaking great. So now next one, we're going to make this one relative to this one. So, all right, so this one is 9 down from that one on the Y. So the reason it's positive is because it's going this way, and negative goes up this way in this particular reference, because 0, 0 is over here. All right, and then they are 35 apart on the X. So let's check that. So this is at 37.75, so it should be at 35. So then we'll make this one relative to this one. And we already know that the X is even on these two, and then I'm willing to bet you that they're going to be the same distance apart as the other ones. So there's 9, 21, and 9. So yep, we are right. That is 39. Then we make this one relative to this one. So then that is a difference in 9 millimeters and 35 millimeters. So 35 and 9. Cool. And then last but not least, we'll make this one relative to this. So I'm already pretty positive that the Y is going to be 39 and X is going to be 0. Now let's just go double check, of course. So 21, 9, and 9. So yeah, another 39. So this is all set up correctly. And then, of course, if you really wanted to, you could also make a joystick that's relative to these as well. But the best way to do this is to just create the button bank separately from the joysticks and stuff, and then let people place them wherever they want. I am not sure what this layout's name is. So, was it a Hori layout? I guess we'll just call it Hori, even though I'm probably wrong. Hori right button bank. And you can name that whatever you want, really. I tend to name it and say like it's the right button bank or whatever. So that is how you use that. And of course, when you save it, you want to make sure that you go and you save it to custom component, because otherwise it's going to save it as a panel. I mean, that's something I gotta fix eventually. So then you can save it, and now you have this to reuse in another application. So for instance, if I wanted to throw this, let's just throw it on a CG Micro, even though it's not really going to fit there. We'll just go through here. We'll look for my Hori right button bank I made. Yeah, see, way too big. But yeah, that's how you would use it. And then of course, one other thing to note here too is that there is a feature that will allow you to test your layout. In order to do that, though, there's a slight calibration process you have to do because you have to figure out essentially like basically what the resolution of your screen is and how big it is, and there's a way you can calibrate it using a regular playing card or like your driver's license, putting it on your screen. But I'll save that for a separate video. Mine's already configured, so I'll just show you. So if I click, oh, maybe I don't actually have it calibrated. Although that is actually my screen, and as you can see, that's actually real size, at least on my screen, of what each of these buttons should be. So there now, whoop, sorry. I could actually put my fingers on the screen and actually kind of see how that layout feels. And if I hit the P button, it'll put me in preview mode, and it'll just show this on the screen so that I can mess with it. And then, of course, there's actually a way that you can connect it to your computer and actually use it as a virtual lever list. But that's definitely another story altogether that we'll save for another day. Yeah, so that's that. I hope that this has been helpful. Thanks.